Day 2 at the Gabba in Brisbane turned into a proper Aussie smashfest, with England's earlier ups from day 1 evaporating under pressure. England had posted 334 in their first innings, a respectable total anchored by a classy century from Joe Root, who batted through with grit and composure when loads of his teammates folded. But once their innings closed, the spotlight flipped hard in Australia's favour. The England bowlers looked ragged, and the fielders, man, they made it easy for the Aussies. By day's end, Australia had crept past their target and built a solid lead of 44. The day kicked off sharp for Australia. Opener Jake Weatherald strode out like he owned the wicket, and practically did. He smashed a brilliant 72 off 78 balls, his maiden Test half-century, punishing anything loose and sending the bowlers packing. He didn't quite go on to a big 100, but that knock laid the foundation for Australia's charge. Next in was Marnus Labuschagne, who looked calm, collected and hungry. He put together a brilliant 65, soaking up the pressure while keeping the scoreboard ticking. Aussie fans were probably breathing easy watching him bat. And then there was veteran Steve Smith, captain for this test, who played a rock-solid 61. Smith wasn't flashy, he didn't need to be. He played smart, kept the line, picked his shots carefully and helped steer the innings into firm control. By the time the sun dipped and the stadium lights took over, Australia had powered their way to 378 for 6, sliding comfortably into a position of control with a 44-run lead that felt bigger than the numbers on the scoreboard. It wasn't just about overtaking England's first innings. Total, it was the swagger and momentum with which they did it. Throughout the afternoon and into the evening session, Australia looked locked in and fearless, batting with the kind of confidence that tells the opposition, yeah, we're running this show now. With 4 wickets still in hand and 2 set batters at the crease, the Aussies weren't just ahead, they were firmly in the driver's seat, dictating the rhythm and mood of the match as day 2 wrapped up. And the vibe in the middle when play ended? Total Aussie dominance. A massive part of that control came from the cool-headed, steady partnership brewing at the end between Alex Carey and Michael Neser. Carey, sitting pretty at 46 not out, looked like he could have batted blindfolded. He was playing with a perfect mix of patience and aggression, not chasing flashy strokes, not forcing anything reckless, just picking off the loose balls and nudging his way toward what looked like an inevitable half-century. His innings had this calm, veteran touch to it, like he knew exactly how to squeeze the most out of the fading daylight and tiring bowlers. On the other side stood Michael Neser, unbeaten on 15, playing the ideal support role. He wasn't trying to be a hero or steal the spotlight. He was steady, composed, and totally committed to protecting his wicket, rotating the strike when needed, and keeping the scoreboard creeping upward. Together, the pair stitched a partnership that didn't just add runs, it added pressure, draining England's momentum and stretching their frustration. And honestly, England were feeling it. They looked flat, almost deflated by the time that partnership started settling in. The bowlers seemed to run out of ideas, and the fire they showed earlier had fizzled into scattered plans and tired lengths. Carey and Neser took full advantage, turning what could have been a balanced contest into a one-sided evening grind. Every run they added late in the final session felt like a small punch to England's confidence. The lead kept growing, the crowd kept getting louder, and the visitors were left chasing shadows as Australia pushed deeper into commanding territory. What made the moment even more significant is how cleanly Australia built that advantage. No panic, no sloppy batting, no unnecessary gambles, just solid Test cricket played with brains and toughness. Ending the day with a lead, set batsmen, and still 4 wickets left meant the hosts were positioned to really stretch the margin on day 3. And the way Carey and Neser walked off under the lights, heads high, bats raised, you could tell they weren't done yet. Australia had taken control of the match, flipped the momentum their way, and sent a loud message. If England wanted back in, they were going to have to fight for every inch. But the bat wasn't the only reason. Australia walked off feeling good, not even close. England's fielding was an absolute mess, the kind of chaotic, sloppy performance that haunts a team long after stumps. 5 catches went down throughout the day, and in Test cricket, especially in the Ashes, that's not just a mistake, that's practically a donation. Every dropped catch felt like England handing Australia a free lottery ticket, and the Aussies cashed in on all of them. On a surface like the Gabba, especially under lights where the pink ball zips, swings and does all kinds of funky things, you don't need many lifelines to do real damage. But England didn't just give Australia 1 lifeline, they handed them 5. You could almost feel the air leaving England's confidence each time the ball slipped through someone's fingers. These weren't freak impossible chances. Most of them were standard regulation catches that test-level players are expected to swallow without blinking. Instead, they hit the turf, leaving bowlers staring into the grass and fans shaking their heads in disbelief. The effect of those drops rippled through the whole day because every missed chance came back to bite. England twice once when the catch hit the ground, and again as the same batter went on to pile up more runs. Momentum is everything in Test cricket, and England let theirs leak away like water through a cracked bucket. Bowlers who should have been celebrating breakthroughs found themselves trudging back to their marks, shoulders slumped, frustration written all over their faces. You could see the rhythm vanish, the discipline fade, and the bowling plans start breaking apart as frustration crept in. Instead of tightening the screws on Australia, England loosened them, giving the home side all the time and confidence they needed to build a monster of a total. Those drops didn't just cost chances, they cost energy, belief, control, and eventually the entire flow of the day. As for Australia, they didn't hesitate 1 second to take full advantage. Every time England slipped, Australia stepped harder on the pedal. The batters looked calmer, more settled, and more comfortable knowing they had extra breathing room. When you survive a chance in a high-pressure test, something clicks, you start playing freer, the nerves fade, and suddenly the bowlers look a whole lot less threatening. That's exactly what happened. England let Australia off the hook again and again, and the home side turned those gifts into runs, partnerships, and eventually a commanding position in the match. By the time the final session rolled around, it didn't even feel like England were competing. It felt like they were surviving, trying to limit the damage, trying to pretend those 5 drops didn't rewrite the whole script of the day. But they did. In a match as intense and important as the Ashes, the line between dominance and disaster is razor thin, and England crossed it with every ball that slipped past their hands. The bowling didn't help much either. England's seamers and pacers strayed too often, too short, too wide, lacking consistency. That allowed the Australian batters to settle, get comfy, and lay waste. Gradually they piled up runs at better than 5 and over pace. In short, sloppy bowling and sloppy catching, the kind of mistakes that spell trouble in a test match, especially when the opposition bats like Australia did today. There was some fight left though. England did manage a few late wickets to stop Australia from converting starts into big hundreds. But by then most of the damage was done, and with Carey and Neser still at the crease when stumps came, Australia had a real foothold batting deep. Lead in hand, momentum on their side. From England's perspective, this was deflating. One day they had the upper hand thanks in large part to Root, and by nightfall, thanks to poor bowling and fielding, they'd handed Australia the keys. It's a shift in mood, momentum, everything. The kind that can make a test match collapse pretty hard if things don't bounce back quick. For Australia, this was exactly what they'd hoped for. They erased a deficit, took a lead, and did it with a mix of aggression, Weatherald, composure, Labuschagne, and experience, Smith. They didn't get overly flashy, they just bided their time, punished mistakes, and ground down the opposition. That kind of innings, on a day-night pink ball test at the Gabba, sets you up real nice for what's coming next, especially with a pitch that might start doing a bit more later. If you ask me, after day 2 the narrative is loud and clear. Australia seized control, capitalized on England's letdowns, and now they're sitting pretty going into day 3. England will need to tighten up. No more dropping catches, no more loose bowling if they want to stay in this thing. Because the way things are shaping up, Australia look like they mean business.